Really proud of our team's effort last week against Idaho, and you go through all of camp and spring football and the workouts, and the one thing you hope for game one is they show up excited, ready to play. And as I said after the game, I think that was the thing I was most proud about, is that when we took the field, it was with a lot of energy. I thought we sustained that energy for 4 quarters. Going back and watching the film, it was there. Our kids played with great effort, and not always technically perfect or assignment perfect, but in football, if you play with great effort and great energy, sometimes you can overcome assignment mistakes, and I think to a large part our guys did that. So this week gave us a great chance to clean up some of those assignment technique mistakes as we head into game number 2 against Morgan State. And we've had a good week of practice and a good week of preparation. And Morgan State is a team that probably not a lot of people are familiar with, but they have 18 starters back from a year ago. They certainly have some skilled players and some guys that certainly pose a threat. Especially at the tight end, wide receiver, running back, and quarterback position. They have some skilled guys that we're going to have to be assignment sound and technique sound, and show up and be ready to play in the home opener.
If you could talk about the excitement of that home opener, especially coming off a week like last week.
Yeah, I mean, it's the one thing that we talk to our players about every year is that a mark of a good program is the ability to win at home and create a home field advantage. And we were not happy with how we played at home a year ago. We played very poorly at home, and that's something that we got to get rectified. And it just, again, I think a lot of it is it's just with our players' attitude and their effort that every game's a big deal. In football, you only get 12 opportunities. You work all year for it, but for those 6 home opportunities, you really want to show the home crowd and the people that buy the season tickets and your own students that you take tremendous pride in representing Bowling Green State University. And I certainly hope that we get off to a good start this year, and that our guys show up ready to play and with that same energy and emotion that we showed a week ago.
Coach, is Kyle Bryant ready to go then?
Kyle Bryant has practiced. He practiced the last 3 days. He's looked better every day, and it's going to be a game time decision. I think right now we'll continue to start Ben at tackle and Dominic Wharton at guard, but Kyle would. Right now, we're being told he would be available to play.
And sorry.
Go ahead, Jen.
The only other injury I note is Spencer, then?
Yeah, he's been out there practicing a little bit. I'd say right now he's, we're hoping he can go, but I would say that's probably 50-50 right now.
With the Idaho game, would you talk a little bit about 3rd downs? The good news was on defense, the defense was exceptional on 3rd down play. The downside is the offense kind of struggled in 3rd down. Would you just talk about both sides?
Well, defensively, I think the whole key is we got him into 3rd and longs. It's much easier to stop people on 3rd down when it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, as opposed to 3rd and 2 and 3. So I think on defense, a lot of our 3rd down success was due to our 1st and 2nd down success in stopping the run. We, I think, gave up only, 52 rushing yards, and then they were throwing it, and we got them into a lot of 2nd and 10s and what we call 2nd and off schedules, and that led to 3rd and longs. And those, it's easier to call defenses 3rd and long, but at the same point, you still have to find a way to get off the field, and our guys did that. And some of it was good coverage. I think Cameron Truss had 2 pass breakups on 3rd down, but a lot of it was we got a tremendous pass rush, that we did not have to bring a lot of pressure in 3rd down, from linebackers and from safeties and corners to generate a pass rush, and that allowed us to play 7 guys in coverage or 8 guys in coverage, and it's certainly easier to cover people the more guys you can play in coverage. Conversely, on offense, I was happy with how we converted 3rd and longs. What we did a really poor job on was short yardage situations. It was the 3rd and 2s, the 3rd and 3s, the 3rd and 1s that we didn't convert. And that was very disappointing, especially in a game that we ran the ball well, but we did not run it well situationally. In those situations, we didn't get push. We didn't get up to the linebacker sometimes. We cut some people loose. And and we can't do that. That was an area, if you come off of the game and say, what are the two things you have to get better at? You know, number one is we did have some assignment mistakes in the secondary that we cut guys loose. Unfortunately, you know, in two of those cases, the pass rush made up for it. In two of those cases, the ball went over our head. And on offense, it was certainly the ability to make first downs, you know, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, and then also the 4-minute offense. That, you know, it would have been great in that fourth quarter if we could have generated 1 or 2 more first downs.
Coach, we talked about that running game just in general. What were some of the reasons you guys were so successful running the ball?
Well, I mean, we didn't cut people loose. I think the offensive line played cohesively. You didn't see defensive linemen 3 yards in the backfield untouched. You know, and a lot of that is just comes from cohesion. That, you know, this is now a group that has played half a season together last year, all spring, all camp. You know, we're not moving and mixing as much parts as we were a year ago, and so there's far better communication. Guys have practiced together for the 15 practices in the spring, and then the 29 you get in camp before the first game. You know, there's 44 sessions of 2.5 hours that guys are working together. And sometimes in the run game, maybe we didn't get great push, but we weren't cutting people loose. So the ball was at least always getting back to the line of scrimmage. And if you can do that and you have some skill at running back, which we do, you know, now you're getting positive yards, and occasionally you break one. And you know, you love to see the 30 and the 40-yard runs, but what I like to see is that it's always 2 and 3 yards. And that way you're staying on schedule. And when you can stay on schedule, now you have the threat of running or throwing the football. One of our biggest issues last year is we just got in so many 2nd and longs and 3rd and longs, and then people could tee it up against us. So that's going to be a key all year for us, is to stay on schedule, to have a mix in the run and the pass game. And, you know, we've done it for 1 week. That's it. So it's still something we got to get better at.
Is it pronounced Anton, by the way? Or
Anton.
Anton?
Anton.
Did you expect him to have the game that you did, first game?
I mean, I don't know if you ever expect that. I expected him to play well. He practiced well for 29 practices, and you hope that what you see for 29 practices is going to show up game day. And usually it does, and not just for an individual, but for a team. So far this year, and I've said this many times, we have practiced well. This is not a group right now, and it needs to keep up, but this is not a group that has had to been pushed and prodded and convinced the importance of practice. I think these guys learned a very painful lesson a year ago that if you don't practice well, you're probably not going to play well. And so far they've responded. And you know, I think we've had maybe 1 bad practice so far all through camp in the season, and that was you know, really kind of leading into the 2nd scrimmage. So you know, right now we're getting good leadership from our seniors. I think they've convinced other guys the importance of practice. So far we've had a very good look from our scout team, which is also critical to having a good practice. And again, we have a long ways to go, and it's a long season, but so far I'm really pleased with our energy and our tempo of practice. And when guys work that hard in practice, the game's the reward. And when you don't practice hard, you know, the game is less meaningful because you haven't paid a price. And so far, I like the way that our football team is practicing.
What do you think it would do for the kids mentally to come out and get a win here after last year's struggles at home?
You know what? Every team is a new team, and every year is a new year. And you know, our goal right now is we just want to be 2-0. We don't talk to our players about last year or last year's struggles. That was last year's team. This is this year's team, and you know, we wanted to play well at Idaho, and we did that well enough to find a way to win. And our only goal right now is to be 2-0. So we don't talk about the big picture. We talk about winning this game at home in our home opener, and trying like crazy to become a 2-0 football team.
Looking at Morgan State, is there certain aspects that you're looking to exploit on offense as far as maybe you guys can take advantage of?
Well, you know I wouldn't share that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, certainly that's, you know, we don't spend all night here watching film and just kind of roll the dice. But, you know, I think the problems that Morgan presents is they're very multiple, that they run multiple defensive packages. You know, that they were a little bit different in game 1 than they showed through 11 games last year. And so you know, we spend a lot of time on our first 4 opponents in the spring and in the summer. So that, you know, we game planned Morgan back in May and June. And then what they showed against Towson was a little bit different than what they had shown last year. So, you know, and those are the things that cause us sleepless nights is, you know, did they do that just for Towson, or have they had a philosophical shift in defense? You know, so we had a game plan ready, and now we have to adjust it a little bit because they did some different things and they emphasized certain packages over other packages. So they're multiple. It's going to be, you know, this is going to be an assignment challenge for our players because they do so many different things that we got to make sure we have a hat on a hat. And that's really our big goal, is to make sure we're on the same page.
All right, another dumb question for you then, as far as coming off that first.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, coming off the first game, obviously you're feeling pretty good about the team. Is there any chance of maybe any overconfidence facing a team coming in here who maybe isn't at the same level? Or
you would certainly hope not.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where you hope there is, as much as I, on the one hand, say every year is a different year, you know, that feeling at Idaho in the locker room was a good feeling. And we want to experience that feeling as much as possible. And, you know, we've tried to turn the page and get ready for game 2. And based on how we've practiced, I don't think that's going to be an issue, but we have a young football team, and, you know, what they're thinking. I mean, we're trying to set the tone that last week is over and we've got to have our focus for game 2. And, you know, we'll find out Saturday if it worked. But, again, I like the way we're practicing. I like the way we're working. And I think our guys are hungry. And I think this team has practiced all spring and all camp with a chip on their shoulder, like they have something to prove, and that challenge hasn't left.
Dave, did you notice any difference or a change in bounce or attitude after that win? I mean, you know, you've sat last year behind you, you've got to win to get things started. Did it force a change?
I sensed a change in the trip, in the hotel, in the walkthrough. You know, I mean, I said to a couple of our coaches before the game, you know, I said, listen, I know you're never sure how you're going to play. I didn't question whether we were ready to play. Sometimes you sit in that locker room and, geez, are they ready? And they don't seem up. I mean, they were ready to go. That team was ready to play. And, you know, through the course of a career, you know, there's a handful of those games that you're in that locker room and you just say, they are ready. And I felt that way before the game. The locker room felt great. Guys were focused. There was just a quiet energy level that I loved. And that thing couldn't start quick enough. You know, and again, the challenge is to be able to do that for 12 games. And we're 1 for 1, and our goal now is to be 2 for 2.
What about Towson's kick return? And with the 2 big returns that the kid had, that they had a good average. Your kick coverage against Idaho was pretty good kickoff. Mm-hmm. What kind of problem was he going to present, though?
Well, I mean, Morgan has very good skilled athletes. And, I mean, I don't care. We average 40 yards a kickoff return. I don't care who you're doing it against. You've got some skill and talent. That's, you know, you got 11 bodies running at you full speed, and he found a way to find creases and make big plays. And we're going to have to tackle well. And I thought that was a big key to our win last week, is we won the field position game. You know, we won that by 11 yards a drive start. And that is going to be important for us this year. Is, you know, we've got to give teams a long field. We want to make it a short field. And obviously kickoff, you know, our kickoff coverage is huge because it's usually after you've just taken momentum. You know, you've just scored, you're now kicking off, and you don't want to give that momentum back. And you know, the one good thing about our special teams this year is, you know, knock on wood, as long as we stay healthy, we have much better depth at all those positions than we ever had a year ago. You know, even those positions are competitive. I mean, after every game, you know, we'll make a few adjustments in our kickoff team, but guys are fighting for reps. And some guys, there's another, you know, 15, 20, 30 reps they can get on special teams. And the guys that didn't give effort are going to play less.
Coach, this is kind of a side note, but we're going to have a small tribute before the game on Saturday for 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean to you to have before a game?
Well, I've, you know, for the people here last year, you know, 9/11 is very personal for me. My sister worked in the Second World Trade Center. A young man I coached, Nick Brandemarty, passed away on 9/11. He worked in the first tower, and you know, anytime that I go to an airport or see my sister, I think of 9/11. And, you know, as a department, we're partnering with Wounded Warriors this weekend, which is an organization that is dedicated to helping veterans make the adjustment back. And, you know, we're going to have 2 Wounded Warriors with our football program this weekend. They're going to have dinner with us and be on the sidelines with us and be honorary captains. So it is a big deal. You know, I think it'll be good for our players. I mean, you know, our players think that, you know, they have adversity, and sometimes, you know, as football coaches, we talk of adversity of overcoming a turnover or losing a football game. And, you know, what these men and women have gone through for our country and our benefit is true adversity. So I think it'll be very humbling and hopefully impactful for our team, you know, to meet Linda and Claude, and they'll have a chance to share their experiences and the things they've done so that we can play a game on Saturday.
Speaking of adversity, could you talk a little bit about the hardship that's come to light of having to go to classes when you have a home game midweek?
Yeah, you know, it's news to me that as far as I know, it's been a rule. We have always required that our players go to class, you know, the day of a game. And you know, when I was hired here by our athletic director, Greg Christopher, he told me about, you know, the weeknight games and the ESPN exposure and, you know, what I thought about it. And obviously I wanted the job, so I told him it was great. And, you know, he just said, hey, just understand that there's a MAC policy that you have to go to class that day. And, I mean, we've always followed that. And, you know, I think so much of what we do as coaches is we always try to minimize the amount of class that our players miss, because sometimes if we have an away game on a Saturday, you know, they'll have to miss a Friday class. So, you know, that for us, it's no change. We have always required, if we have a weeknight home game, that our players go to class. And I guess I was a little bit caught off guard that it was a new rule, because to me the rule always existed. I mean, maybe it was just a policy and now they're enforcing it, but at Bowling Green that has always been the rule.
Guys, anything else for Coach? All right, Coach, thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you much.